and I'll pull up this one. Okay, alright. Salam sejahtera dan salam satu Malaysia. Alright, nama saya Billy Hu dari University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Dan hari ini saya akan membentangkan hasil bacaan saya, iaitu buku ini yang bertajuk Persistent Disparity, Race and Economic Inequality in the United States since 1945. So, buku ini dikarang oleh Profesor Darity, nama penuhnya William A. Darity Jr. Dia seorang bekas profesor dari universiti saya, tapi kini dia kat Duke University, dan dia bersama seorang rakannya mengarang buku ini. Rakannya bernama Profesor Samuel L. Myers, dia dari University of Minnesota. So, tujuan saya memilih bacaan ini adalah kerana bahan-bahan yang dibincangkan dan dibangkitkan dalam bacaan ini ada banyak kaitan dengan study interest saya, iaitu interracial injusticeness and inequalities. Satu lagi objektif saya memilih buku ini adalah kerana isu-isu inequalities ini has been an issue in the political arena in Malaysia. Di samping perkara-perkara isu seperti bersih dan masalah corruption di Malaysia. And I would like my audiences to take what I would like my audiences to take from this discussion is to understand the different methodology yang dibincangkan dalam buku ini untuk menolong kita atau membantu kita untuk memahami masalah-masalah ketidaksamaan di Malaysia. So, like, I hope that what we can get out from this book discussion is to understand the methodologies that's presented in this book, so that it would actually help us in understanding issues with racial inequalities in Malaysia. Alright, and let's see. I'm going to start from isi kandungan sekarang. Alright. So, dalam bahagian permulaan buku ini, pengarang telah membentangkan dua jenis inequalities atau ketidaksamaan yang wujud di Amerika Syarikat. So, ketidaksamaan pertama ialah intra-group inequality, dan ketidaksamaan kedua ialah intergroup inequalities. So, intra-group inequality bermaksud ketidaksamaan yang wujud dalam sesuatu kaum, manakala intergroup inequality bermaksud ketidaksamaan yang wujud di antara kaum. So, masalah yang wujud dalam kedua-dua konteks ketidaksamaan ini ialah, so in terms of intra-group inequality, there's actually a widening gap between the top and bottom, and there's also at the same time there's a squeezing in the middle. So, masalah yang wujud dalam konteks ketidaksamaan yang wujud dalam sesuatu kaum ini is that there's a widening of income gap between the top and the bottom, and as it goes wider in this group, then there's a squeezing in the middle. So what yang perkara ini amat ketara dalam kumpulan dalam kalangan rakyat Amerika Syarikat yang berkulit hitam. Dan di samping itu, dalam konteks intergroup inequality, there's also intergroup inequality yang bermaksud ketidaksamaan di antara kaum, is that there's a widening gap between widening income gap between rakyat Amerika Syarikat yang berkulit putih dan rakyat Amerika Syarikat yang berkulit hitam. So, pengarang telah mencadangkan bahawa that the issue of inequality here is not the problem of yang kaya jadi lebih kaya atau yang miskin jadi lebih miskin, tetapi masalahnya adalah while both rich whites and black are getting richer, it is the poor blacks that get poorer. So, masalah yang dikenali oleh pengarang-pengarang ini buku ini ialah orang-orang kaya dalam kalangan rakyat Amerika Syarikat yang berkulit putih dan berkulit hitam telah menjadi lebih kaya dalam tempoh masa yang telah dikaji dalam buku ini. Tetapi it is the orang miskin dalam kalangan rakyat Amerika Syarikat yang berkulit hitam yang telah menjadi lebih miskin. So idea pengarang ini ialah orang mereka yang berkulit hitam telah menjadi mangsa dalam peralihan pasaran ekonomi buruh yang membawa ketidakkebaikan kepada pekerja kurang mahir. So it is this change in the economic sector in the Americas that favors skilled workers and in opposed to lower skilled workers. And because of this change, that the blacks has become a victim of this change towards the demand for skilled workers. So, for example, dalam tempoh 1979 hingga 1992, rakyat yang berkulit hitam di Amerika Syarikat have experienced a stronger negative change in median income among the lower income populations compared to rakyat Amerika Syarikat yang berkulit putih yang let me rephrase this again, alright. So dalam tempoh 1979 hingga 1992, rakyat Amerika Syarikat yang berkulit hitam telah experience a stronger negative change in median income compared to rakyat Amerika Syarikat yang berkulit putih. So lebih teruk lagi, the family income ratio of black to whites has decreased from 0.62 in 1979 to 0.52 in 1992. This means that ini bermaksud keluarga-keluarga rakyat Amerika Syarikat yang berkulit putih dalam tempoh 1979 hingga 1992 telah menjadi lebih kaya, manakala keluarga-keluarga rakyat Amerika Syarikat berkulit hitam telah menjadi lebih miskin. Dan ratio ini bertukar dari 0.62 ke 0.52. So, satu sumber fenomena ini yang telah dicadangkan oleh pengarang ialah peningkatan peratusan keluarga orang Amerika berkulit hitam yang disara wanita. Or in English, there is actually an increase of proportion of black families in America that is headed by the female rather than male. Another problem, satu lagi sumber masalah yang telah dikaitkan oleh pengarang is the persistence of pre-labor market discrimination. So diskriminasi dalam pemilihan tenaga buruh di Amerika Syarikat. So alright. And these problems, the authors believe that it can only be solved when the whites felt no economic threats from racial minorities. So what we can see from this argument here is that in this scenario is that race-based policies can only be ended if races concerned do not felt threatened by such a move. So what the authors here are trying to say, if we want to help the blacks in alleviating their misfortunes and alleviating their kesusahan mereka, so it can only be achieved when rakyat Amerika Syarikat yang berkulit putih tidak terasa, they do not feel the threat from all these race-based policies. So, pengarang kemudian membincangkan beberapa trend ketidaksamaan dalam kalangan rakyat Amerika Syarikat. So, trend pertama ialah, like we have mentioned earlier, is that the rich has got richer, but the black poor gets poorer. So, peratusan rakyat Amerika yang berkulit putih dan berkulit hitam yang mempunyai pendapatan di bawah 5,000 telah menurun sejak 1960-an hingga 1970-an. Tetapi trend ini beralih pula sejak tahun 1976, di mana peratus rakyat Amerika yang berkulit hitam berpendapatan di bawah 5,000 telah meningkat mendadak. To paraphrase in English, they say like the percentage of white Americans and black Americans who have income below 5,000 has actually decreased from 1960 to 1970. But this trend has changed since 1976, where we see there's actually a rise of black Americans that actually having income less than 5,000. And this change was really like out of a sudden. And alright, the second trend that the authors actually identified here, like trend ketidaksamaan yang kedua yang pengarang-pengarang ini telah mendapati, ialah ketidaksamaan pendapatan pekerja. So, dalam konteks ini, pendapatan mingguan pekerja lelaki yang berkulit hitam telah menurun di antara tahun 1979 hingga 1987. Manakala pendapatan mingguan pekerja wanita yang berkulit hitam telah meningkat. So, to paraphrase in English, the weekly wages of black males have decreased in between the time period of 1979 and 1987. But during the same time, we have actually seen an increase of labor participation rate among the black females atau pekerja wanita yang berkulit hitam. At the same time, since they have this increased participation rate, what the authors actually discovered is that pendapatan mingguan pekerja wanita berkulit hitam juga meningkat at the same time. It means their weekly wage has also risen at the same time. So while we see that wages of the black males have gone down, the wages of the black females have gone up at the same time. And another trend yang dikenal, I would say that has been identified by the authors is that the fight between pekerjaan baik dan pekerjaan buruk. So pekerjaan baik dalam konteks ini bermaksud pekerjaan yang membuahkan pendapatan yang baik atau lumayan, manakala pekerjaan buruk bermaksud sebaliknya. And so masalah ini sebenarnya amat signifikan kerana peratus pekerja lelaki yang berkulit hitam dan yang memegang pekerjaan baik telah menurun, manakala peratus pekerja lelaki yang berkulit hitam yang memegang pekerjaan buruk telah meningkat. And at the same time here, what that this authors has identified is that the white population has actually gotten more good jobs and less bad jobs, and a lot of factors has been discussed in this context. Like they were mentioning about education attainment at first, and also about the skills that they obtain. So what is discussed here is that the black population was having a difficult transition because they don't have the necessary skill for them to go for better jobs. They have to stick to jobs that requires low skill, and when jobs that require low skill, it will mean jobs that has lower wages. So this has created an like interracial gap between them. that the whites, they benefit due to their education attainment or their any other benefits that any other advantages they have, while the blacks, because of the lack of skills, they have to stick to bad paid jobs and lower skilled jobs. And what we see from here, there's an increase of gap in between that. So an alternative explanation to that is that, so black males who made transition to from blue collar jobs, that means the kind of skills that require more hard work or labor, and so the black males who made transition from these jobs to white collar jobs has actually earned less, while the same if the same transition is made by white males, they actually earn more. And after that, the authors here has studied the correlation between income and wealth in the general population, and the increase of political and legal assaults on racial affirmative action in hiring and education. So during a time period in America, there was a lot of what do you call that, tentangan. There's a lot of movement among the white people that go against racial and affirmative action policies, and this comes in terms of hiring people, in terms of education, because back then we have that segregation issues in America that actually restricts a lot education rights to black people also, you know. So but despite of all this movement, right, at some point black education attainment actually increased, and but since they're trying to argue here, since black people has also enough education, right, what they observe in this time period that they study is that wage differentials should have narrowed. That means the income gap between white and black should have gone narrower, but they in fact did not. What they experienced from this study is that they see the income gap between white and blacks actually increase. Then so the next part, where how the authors is trying to explain this relative economic position among the families of black and white, is that there's actually a rising proportion of black families that's headed by low-skilled females, and so like if the idea here is that the family structure of among the blacks changed from leadership of the traditional male leadership into the newer leadership by the females in the black families. But although this, we see an increase in black families that is led by female, they did not see an increase of family income, because these women that has been participating in the labor force is actually working in low-skilled sectors. So even though we see an increase, like we have mentioned earlier now, an increase of female participation in the labor force, what we experience is that all these women are working in the low-skilled sector, so it did not really benefit them much. And that is why we see an increasing gap between family income gap between whites and blacks also in this case. So last but not least, also then the authors here actually presented a few remedies and langkah-langkah untuk mengatasi masalah ketidaksamaan ini. So pengarang telah mengemukakan dua kategori untuk mengatasi masalah ketidaksamaan kaum. So there's two. One is that race-based policies, that is the most highly discussed topic in Malaysia, where the race-based policies versus need-based policies. That is the second kind of category untuk mengatasi masalah ini. So race-based policies can come in a form of affirmative action, quota system like the education quotas that we have, preferential scoring, and the problem of this kind of race-based policies is that a vast majority of Americans actually are opposed to this. They don't like, especially the whites. They don't like the fact that one group of people have to have an advantage at the expense of another, because they felt threatened because of this kind of policies. Like, for example, you tax the rich for the poor, but in a racial system. So these kind of policies are in fact discriminatory. Although we want to fix discrimination in a society, this kind of race-based policies is in fact discriminatory itself also. And the second kind of policies that we talk about are non-race-based policies, probably like merit-based policies or need-based policies. So examples of that these authors presented are like vouchers, entrepreneur grants, focusing on providing equal opportunity. The idea is that instead of achieving an end in non-race-based policies, right? They're trying to provide everyone with an equal opportunity, an equal platform to help them proceed and help them to achieve what they want. So, like free education for everyone. So everyone has the same kind of opportunity sets to proceed further in education and all that. So, and one have to choose between these two. You can't just choose a mixture of these two. You know, if you want to take a stand, you have to do whether a race-based policies or a need-based policies. You know, so the authors actually help us to provide a guideline on how we can actually judge whether we want to do a race-based kind of policies or a need-based kind of policies. So one idea, there's these two ideas of inequity that they introduce. So one idea is the retrospective inequity, which is something like a Robert Nozick approach that I like a lot. So Robert Nozick says that we have to fix historical injustice to right the historical wrongs. And I think this is something what Malaysia has been doing also. And in Malaysia, what we do is that because the argument goes like, because the British brought in the Chinese and the Indian during the colonial period, this Chinese and Indian population has actually displaced the Malay population in terms of economic attainments and all that. So what we through NEP's new economic policy in Malaysia, it actually is, we are trying to fix this identification of race towards economic functions. So in Amerika Syarikat, this is also in America, this is also very relevant, because when you talk about black civil rights, we mentioned about the slavery back then in America, where blacks have become slaves, and also during the segregation era, blacks have been discriminated. So the retrospective inequity here in America is to fix all this kind of historical injustice, to fix the fact that blacks have become slaves, to fix the fact that blacks have been discriminated during the segregation era. The other kind of inequity that we want to look at is prospective inequity. That is, we want to create a condition, a present condition that would be favorable for future equities. That means it's like a looking forward kind of policy here, like the idea of providing each and everyone equal opportunity now, so that in the future everyone will be have this like everyone will share almost the same kind of outcomes together, will achieve almost the kind of same thing. They, like to provide the foundation for something bigger in the future. All right, so they actually the authors here actually introduce Pareto efficiency, which is a very popular term in issues in economics and philosophy. So Pareto efficiency means that we can increase welfare of the population without hurting one group of the population. So in terms of retrospective inequity, when we talk about redistribution, where usually it's achieved through taxation, where you tax the rich, for example, you tax the rich and you to help the poor. This kind of, because the fact that we tax the rich, we are actually reducing their welfare for the sake of increasing the welfare of the poor. What Pareto would say in this case is that this is not Pareto efficient, because one party has been hurt for the benefit of the other party. So in terms of Pareto efficiency, if you do a test of Pareto efficiency, retrospective inequity would lose to prospective inequity. So prospective inequity here is Pareto efficient, because we try to provide equal opportunity for everyone without hurting anyone, but at the same time we are trying to increase the welfare of each and everyone in this group. So one example that they provide is in the context of helping the black people here, is that they establish something what they call is a cooperative or kooperasi. So that in this cooperative build up, every black workers within this firm has an ownership to the business that they run collectively. What happened in this case is that they don't only work to gain income solely just for income, just for the sake of untuk mendapat sebuah pendapatan, but in a cooperative setting, when we introduce the fact that workers themselves actually own the business, we are doing something what we call wealth creation, creating wealth for the workers, meaning they have capital, they have assets in this business themselves, rather than just putting their sole effort to gain the income that they work for. So in a cooperative system, the authors here believe that it's actually a very prospective kind of approach, where a very looking forward kind of approach, where you provide the opportunity for everyone to work and also get income, but at the same time provide them opportunities to increase their wealth through acquiring capital in this business, acquiring, like, to increase their wealth in general. So what these authors actually suggested in the end, if we can actually find a combination of race-based policies, because we do want to have some kind of policies which target at a certain population if we want to help the population of people. So for example, in this case, if we want to help the black people here, we also need, they argue that we also need race-based policies that help the black people. All right, but at the same time, if we can introduce forward-looking kind of policies along with race-based policies here, Pareto efficiency is possible to be attained. as long as no party is being hurt in this case. But still, in finishing their book, coming out with a conclusion, despite the fact that they introduced a number of alternatives and recommendations, so there's still no secret formula to fixing inequalities. We have to look into like specific cases, historical cases in this case also, that would probably help us into fixing inequalities that exist within a society. So I don't know if I did well in this presentation. So I think I'm open up to questions now for anyone who wants to ask a question. Alright, so I had a question here. He said, wajarkah memberi peluang pendidikan tinggi tambahan kepada African American? So yeah, this question is has been a legal issue in America. So I read a case before in my public policy class where this white lady actually sued. She sued a law school, that is in fact University of Michigan Law School, saying that she was not given an admission to the law school in University of Michigan because University of Michigan has a quota system for to accept more blacks into the law program. So it became a really big issue. It went, I think, to the Supreme Court, I believe. If not the Supreme Court, probably a high court in the state. So what happened indeed was, they say, like, the argument that happened was that no one population have to get some special benefit or special treatment at the expense of another population. And in fact, Michigan Law School said they don't have a quota system to enable to allow more black students to get into their program. In fact, they judge every admission, every application into the law programs universally based on merits, based on needs, based on achievement. But the system in America is that they like, especially when it comes to student aid scholarships, they have specific scholarships that cater to specific needs. For example, in my grant application, research grant application for the summer, they actually allocated a certain amount of grants that is catered to, say, the LGBT society, the LGBT students, a minority. We consider them a minority now, not based on race, but based on ideology or based on social life, right? So they actually allocated a grant for LGBT students who are interested to start to do research in sexualities. Another case was there's the Center of African American in UNC, in my university. They also allocated a large funds for students especially African American students, to do research, to help their research, if they are interested in studying inequalities or just literally any kind of topics they want to study. So my point here is that race-based kind of policies may not be a universal kind of thing, like a government instituted kind of legal framework, but it may exist in a free market where we have certain sponsors providing all these needs for certain kind of populations just because of their interest and their motivation to help this kind of population. So did I answer your question? Secara beasiswa untuk meningkatkan, okay. So generally across every schools that I know of in America, every big universities in public universities in America, they don't have a race-based kind of scholarship. They work in a need-based kind of scholarship, because like I mentioned, if you cannot just give the blacks some advantages because they are blacks. They may be rich blacks, you know, and wealthy blacks who has advantage already. So we still have to take into account other minorities like the Hispanics and all that. So they rather work under an ideology of overarching ideology of needs-based, merit-based, rather than a race-based kind of scholarship kind of thing. Did I answer your question this time? Or is there any other questions that I can get from the audiences? Alright, thanks. I'm trying my best here. And also, I think I can add something along the lines actually from your question. So in labor economics, what we learn is that if we give a certain kind of added advantage or like financial aid to a certain kind of group of people, it would actually demotivate them to perform better, in a sense, like since they feel like, since I have this kind of advantage with me, I don't have to do as much as other people. Rather than if you put them together in a competitive landscape, they would actually compete with each other to compete with each other in a healthy sense, that they can like make themselves improve themselves and make them advance themselves in a better manner, let's say. So that was an issue about this kind of giving scholarships to people also, because it would actually demotivate them to perform better. It was it was in labor economics that they actually discussed about this. Is there any other questions that I can get from? If that's the case, if I didn't get any questions, I would like to put an end here. And yeah, I forgive if my presentation is not really good today. That's like I know like my bahasa Melayu memang sudah tak cekap kan. And yeah, I'll try to work on my presentation in the future in a more efficient and better manner. And thank you for all my viewers who have viewed me today, and thank you.